Hi, thank you for watching Digging to China. I'm Dong Xiong. In October last year, Chinese and Russian warships conducted joint naval drills in the Western Pacific for the first time, completing a near circle around Japan's main island. Tokyo described such move as unusual, but Beijing and Moscow said they did it to maintain peace and stability in a volatile region. Less than a month later, on November 19th, the Chinese and the Russian militaries sent bomber flights into Japanese and South Korean air defense zones, forcing Seoul to scramble its fighter jets in response. This time, Japan was more critical in its response. Japanese Defense Minister Kishi Nobuo met reporters to express grave concern over the joint patrols, saying Beijing and Moscow's moves clearly indicate that the security situation surrounding Japan is growing more severe. As he spoke, his Chinese and the Russian counterparts were holding virtual talks where they lauded the air and the naval drills as major events and inked a new pact to further deepen defense ties. The pact capped a year that has seen an unprecedented growth in military cooperation, including large-scale war games in China's Ningxia in August, when Russian troops became the first foreign forces to join a regular Chinese drill, as well as announcements to jointly develop military helicopters, missile attack warning systems, and even a research station on the moon. On February 4th, Xi Jinping and Putin met in person and issued a sweeping joint statement announcing that the two countries enjoy a no-limits partnership. It's the strongest, closest, and the best relationship that the two countries have had since at least the mid-1950s and possibly ever. It is not only on defense that China and Russia have moved closer, but also on the diplomatic and economic fronts. On foreign policy, Beijing and Moscow share similar approaches to Iran, Syria, and Venezuela, and they revived a push to lift United Nations sanctions on North Korea. China's President Xi Jinping and Russia's Vladimir Putin have a personal rapport too. Having met more than 30 times since 2013, Xi has even called Putin his best friend. Both countries share a strong common interest in resisting the influence of liberal Western values within their own countries. They also have a strong shared interest in undermining the states and alliances that embody liberal values. Both China and Russia seek to undermine the democratic and the liberal West. For China, Russia is the biggest supplier of its weapons and the second largest source of its oil imports. And for Russia, China is its top country trading partner and a key source of investment in its energy projects. The war in Ukraine has prompted appeals for China to get involved. Commentators are talking about China as so well positioned to negotiate an end to the fighting. Politicians have done the same. The Ukrainian foreign minister asked China to get involved. European leaders video called Chinese leader Xi Jinping in an effort to keep him in the loop. I can tell you this. China will not negotiate an endgame as many hoped, not just because Chinese communist regime does not want to, but it is not able to. CCP is suffering from a chronic leadership void that prevents itself to act in an international conflict. Beijing was eerily quiet after war broke out in Ukraine. No response, no comment, zero nip nada. 1 week later, when Ukraine's nuclear plants were attacked by Russian forces, Beijing finally came out to say it was concerned about the Ukraine's nuclear safety and to urge calm and restraint by Russian forces. Beijing's response was predictable. It blamed the West for instigating the war. It complained that the sanctions are counterproductive. It urged all sides should calm down. It appeared that Beijing was surprised by Russia's behavior and shocked at how badly the war went on. Beijing kept its distance and not outright criticized Moscow. But 10 days later, Foreign Minister Wang Yi doubled down on support for Moscow, calling Russia China's most important strategic partner. When he was pressed whether China might use its clout with Moscow to mediate, he said the country might do so when the time is right. In other words, not in any meaningful near future that would stop the bloodshed. For decades, many Western leaders hoped that while China's economic and political clout grew, it will become a strategic partner, a responsible shareholder in the global order. They hoped that China would one day rise to the occasion, use its influence to solve a global crisis. But time and again, they are utterly disappointed. That day has not come and would not come for a very long time. Why? Because Chinese Communist Party is so obsessed with a narrow set of issues which tied its hands to be more active on international stage. What is the hand-tying issues that the CCP is so obsessed with? Mainly Taiwan and human rights. If anyone dare to challenge the notion that Taiwan is just a province of China, not a sovereign state, and will someday return to China, you will feel the wrath from CCP immediately. Look no further than Lithuania. Last year, Lithuania allowed Taiwan to use its name on a representative office that it opened in the Lithuania capital, Vilnius. China insists that countries only allow Taiwan to call its offices Taipei after its capital city as if it were just a province. China acted immediately. The moves include a refusal to clear Lithuania goods throughout customs, rejection of import applications from Lithuania, and pressuring EU companies operating out of other EU member states to remove Lithuania imports from their supply chains. In November, China also downgraded diplomatic ties with Lithuania and stopped issuing visas. On the other core issues of human rights, if you criticize Beijing's coercion against Uyghurs, Tibetans, Christians, Falun Gong followers, you will be accused of meddling in China's internal affairs. To this end, China supports other countries that are also criticized for violating the Universal Human Rights Declaration, arguing that these are their internal affairs too. Other than aforementioned issues, on most other issues, China doesn't really care. Wars, drugs, terrorism, public health, climate change. China has an interest in all these issues, but rarely takes the lead. At the best, it offers a few ideas and then follows deals hammered out by other countries. It reflects the ideology frame of thoughts of Xi Jinping. Raised by one of China's founding fathers, President Xi Jinping is the first Chinese communist leader to be born and raised in the communist China. Xi's dream is to recreate the Chinese Communist Party of his father's generation, the CCP in the 1950s. As the myth goes, it was incorruptible, popular, and firmly in charge of society. Xi's goal is to strengthen party controls over the economy, politics, education, and minority areas such as Xinjiang or relatively autonomous regions such as Hong Kong. In other words, Xi wants to turn the clock back on 40 years of reform, although it is ambitious but is also limited and inward-focused. With that in mind, you would understand why China cannot play a constructive role in Ukraine. On paper, it makes sense. At best, China would act neutral, but continue to show most of its sympathy for Russia, not Ukraine or the democracies fighting to save its independence. That's because everything Xi has implemented at home has been to stifle free thoughts, not unleash it. He views the democratic world with distrust. He hopes China will supplant them, but with homegrown innovation and not a robust exchange of ideas and products. It is a self-centered world vision. You win, I lose. For China, it does not make sense to get involved in foreigners' disputes. CCP will stand by and watch the West embroiled in a dispute with Russia over Ukraine. It will wait and see who is likely to win. Then it will cut deals. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.